Welcome, friends. Welcome to another edition of Freeing the Body, Freeing the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. David, and on Freeing the Body, Freeing the Soul, we do in-depth interviews with individuals that are doing cutting-edge work in one or more of three areas, in the areas of healing, spirituality, and social transformation. I'm very excited about today's show. In today's show, we'll be focusing primarily on what most people would think of as the healing aspect of that. And even though we won't go into it in great depth on this particular program, I'm very clear that there are also powerful ripples in terms of what we're going to talk about, also in the area of spirituality and also in the area of social transformation. My special guest today is my dear friend who I've known for years, Kjersti Cote, and in a moment I'll bring her into the conversation. But before we do that, I want to do a couple of things. I want to give you a little context for the conversation and also give you a little background about Kjersti. If you'll forgive me, she gave me her bio, so I'll probably be reading that part. But I just want to say a few words to just frame the conversation. And that is that those of us who are very aware of what's going on in the world today and feel like we're here to make an uplifting difference and to smooth a transition into a culture that's based on true virtue and a new paradigm, we need to be active. We need to be doing things, and we need to be doing things, the right things in the right way in the right time. And if we're going to be doing things, it's very important that we be good stewards of our physical body so that it can support us as we go on in life. And based on a whole variety of things that I'm sure we'll get more into in the conversation with Kjersti, individuals who are not taking responsibility for the well-being and the workability of their own bodies, they're just being kind of thrown along in a social drift that's taking them into greater and greater dis-ease, disharmony, discomfort. And obviously this isn't a good thing given what we want to be doing. And so it's obviously a conversation that's very important to me. And I think the people that are watching and listening and are attracted to this, it's important to them as well. And so in that context, many of you know that one of the hats that I wear is as a naturally oriented doctor. I've been a holistic chiropractor for over 34 years. And one of my passions has been how to use nutrition and herbs in order to optimize human functioning, how the body is functioning. And nutrition is such a loaded topic. And there's so many factors that come into play that make it a really, really challenging topic for anybody, especially for lay people trying to make sense of it all. And many people get overwhelmed and don't do anything. You know, there's an old expression in sales that a confused mind doesn't buy. A confused mind doesn't buy. And if that doesn't say it all about nutrition, I don't know what does. And so I've had the privilege and the opportunity and the challenge over these decades in my position to be exposed to and sift through literally thousands of different products and hundreds of different systems, and to attempt to filter that through many, many filters. One of them being, if I'm going to recommend something, is it safe? Does it work? Is it affordable? Can people do it? Will they do it? Et cetera, et cetera. And so one of the things that has turned out to be to sort of, for thousands of years, has been something that has been shown to be very helpful for people, is to eat foods that are close to nature, and then occasionally from time to time give their digestive system a break. And in today's world, many people can't do that. They either can't do it because they're not getting good food to begin with, or they can't do it because their body's too under stress to handle the challenge. It's a good challenge, but it's a challenge of going without traditional meals for a day or two or three. And so that incredible opportunity that we have to give our bodies what we need and then to clean house on a practical level for many people is unavailable. And one of the things I'm really excited about in bringing in Kjersti into the conversation is that I consider her one of the world's top people in designing a system and the tools that go along with it to make it possible for the average person to do what I've just talked about in ways that are affordable, tasty, easy, fun, and doable. That's huge in and of itself, and that's just the beginning. So with that as sort of a keynote, as I bring Kjersti into the conversation, Kjersti, thanks for joining me today on Freeing the Body, Freeing the Soul.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Let me begin by reading Kjersti's bio that she was kind enough to send me. Kjersti Cote is the Director of Product Development at Zalevo Laboratories. Over the last 21 years, she's gained diverse knowledge in nutrition, supplementation, formulation, and manufacturing. She comes from a family with a background in nutraceutical science, formulating, and manufacturing. Prior to joining Zalevo, Kjersti worked with a billion-dollar company for 17 years, where she contributed to sales and growth through educational programs and event training. Kjersti is currently the Director of Product Development for the Zalevo Labs team. And the team consists of highly skilled professionals, including PhDs, MDs, and DOs, as well as geneticists, molecular biologists, physiologists, nutritionists, lab techs, and quality control personnel. Kjersti is an author, speaker, and trainer, and has produced more than 3,000 audios, podcasts, and videos combined, educating on human nutrition and science. She has a passion for helping others achieve optimal health with no compromise philosophy. She's a proud mom of 3 incredible adult children, Alexa, Tyler, and Zach, and now has an amazing man in her life, Robert. So Kjersti, again, it's an honor and a privilege to be with you today and to share you with my tribe.
Thank you. It is, again, it's a pleasure to be here. I just have adored you for so many years. We've known each other for quite some time now. How many years has it been?
I think 16.
16. Goodness. I love it. I love it.
Is there anything you'd like to share before we get into some of the questions I'm really interested in making sure my viewers and listeners get a chance to hear your answers to?
Well, just that I appreciate who you are, Dr. David, and your quest and drive and passion to help people achieve better health, well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. It's all beautiful work. And I just wish we lived closer so that I could get your famous adjustments more often. So
okay, I hear you, and we'll make it happen. Let's get right into it. So question number 1, and remember, Kjersti, this conversation is really targeted more for the seasoned, sophisticated, nutritional aficionado. So you don't need to start as if you were talking to someone who probably has a lot of their meals at fast food places or stuff like that.
Okay, sounds good.
Question number one, Kjersti, when you were charged with developing this line of life-changing products, what were your guiding principles and priorities that helped shape the process?
Mm. I love this. Well, first of all, it's been, almost a handful of years. It's been actually 2.5. We're coming up on 3 years. And it's been exciting work. It really has. It's been an honor. Our philosophy is that you have one life and one body. And for myself and my team, we're all about seeking out the latest in scientific rationale, scientific research, studies, technologies, innovations, and to bring it here under the umbrella of Zaleva Labs. We are all about no compromise. And I think you hear that so much. It's a term that's used a lot in our industry, in the supplemental world, where people say it's no compromise. Well, how does the consumer ever truly know if it's compromised or not, right? So it's a term that's tossed around, but it means so much to me. When you set out to create something that's truly no compromise, that means you are seeking out the absolute best of the best, whether it's ingredients that are sourced properly, that are vetted properly, to stacking those nutrients together, from manufacturing to finished goods, and all of the different facets of creating a supplement. We are all about quality, purity, and potency. I do a tremendous number of product reviews each and every week, and it just boggles my mind to see some of these well-known brands advertise and sell supplements that have what we consider fairy dusting in them, where they are advertising a specific ingredient, such as, let's just say, ashwagandha. And the amount in which they've gotten to the formulation, you just might as well drink a glass of water, because it's not going to move the needle or benefit the body, as you would think, based on the scientific research that you can find even just through Googling. And
Can I interrupt for a minute?
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So obviously the quantities and how and the combinations are critical, but could you also talk about the differences in quality?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, ashwagandha is not ashwagandha.
That's correct.
So maybe you could talk about that, because that's a hard thing for most people to glean from a label.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can get what we would call bottom of the barrel ashwagandha, or floor sweepings, which, it's a term that's used in the herbal world of quality. But really it goes back to farming practices, soil quality, areas and regions where this ashwagandha is grown, how it's harvested, how it's cared for after being harvested, and how it's processed, meaning how are we extracting all of the good stuff out of this botanical, and just the care in which goes into every single facet. And of course, there's lousy ashwagandha and there's exquisite ashwagandha. So when we were taking a look at this powerful botanical, we sought out the absolute best. We have an ashwagandha that is organic, non-GMO. It is incredibly potent. It's actually the most potent, strongest ashwagandha on the planet, based on the bioactive components, the components to that herb or that botanical that actually cause some sort of influence within the body and supporting and assisting, bioprocesses within the body. So yeah, there's a big difference. There's a huge, vast level of quality, purity, potency. So when we're vetting specific ingredients, whether it's ashwagandha or it is any of your vitamins, other botanicals, proteins, we are very picky on the quality. We want everybody to not have to worry about heavy metal ingestion, heavy metal toxicity. We want to be, Prop 65 compliant with every single formulation that we create. And with that, that takes special guarding and making sure that you're sourcing properly and that your ingredients are pure. So it's a lot of work. But I mean, the bottom line is that in stacking and choosing all of these incredible botanicals, nutrients, macro and micronutrients, the bottom line is that at Zalevo, we truly, truly want to assist people in achieving a better quality of life and help people become healthier. And it's just, as you mentioned in the very beginning, if your body, if your vessel is clean, if it's lean, if it's fed and it's charging and functioning at a high level, then the ability for you to be able to think and create and to be able to lead and to assist and to do whatever you're called to do on this earth, it is absolutely enhanced in the sense of better quality of life, brings better service to people, whether you're you're loving up on your spouse, or you're there for your children and teaching your children, or you're tackling your job each and every day and whatever roles and responsibilities that you're called to do. So it's a very sacred mission that we have here, and we do not take it lightly. That's for sure.
One of the things that strikes me as I'm listening to you, besides my appreciation for your passion and commitment to quality and no compromise, is the fact that you're not functioning in a cultural vacuum. There's a culture that's allowing you to do what you do. And I want to put a spotlight on that for a minute, because it's very unusual from a corporate context, in the sense that most corporations, the person who started the company is to a large extent money motivated.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding is that the gentleman that started Zalevo is already financially set for himself and his family, and that there was no financial pressure at all that was associated with his choice to establish Zalevo and to bring you on board and to allow you to do your thing. And that whatever drum he's beating to, it's not the money drum. And yet, he's responsible in that area, but that's not what it's all about. And so, people might be thinking, well, this is unbelievable. How's she able to do this? And how can they make it work? And, I just wanted to address that, because I'm sure at some point it's going to be in the back of people's minds. Do you want to say anything about the founder of the company and what he's all about, and how that is part of the magic that allows you to do what you do and to create what you guys are creating?
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Broadwater is an incredible, incredible person. And as you mentioned, very successful prior to this company beginning. And he was called to do so. That's the fun part. And, set out with the charge of creating an incredible company. And when this company launched, it was called something, it was named something different. It was Health Sync Global. And then that evolved into Zalevo. And the reason for the evolution, and this is a really important thing, is when Brandon first launched Health Sync Global, it had 9 formulations, and they were great formulations, but they knew something was missing, and so they sought out, brought me on, and then I was charged with basically assessing the current product line at that time and gap assessing, just to kind of see what needed to shift, what needed to change. And, you know, based on the philosophy and the world in which I came from, with that whole no compromise foundation, it's like, listen, if we want to truly help people, these are the missing components. And we decided to recreate a brand new product line, decommission the old one. And through that process, you know, when you're creating a Rolls Royce or you know, a luxury line here, we really wanted a brand and a look and a feel that was going to align with that quality. So hence the new name of the company called Zalevo. And Zalevo is two words combined. It is zenith, which is your highest point, and Alevo, which is to lift up. So we're all about helping people to rise and to lift to their highest potential. So there was so much thought that went into the branding. We wanted a brand that a healthcare professional would love and embrace to see in their office. We wanted a brand and a look that any gentleman would be proud to represent, and of course for women as well. So it's very bold and very universal in look and feel, which I love that. And then of course the magic is inside of the pouch, right? It's inside of the packaging that ignites the body. So with Brandon helping to just set the foundation to start this company and to just give people, to charge people that he is called to fill in these roles and with these roles and responsibilities within the company, to just unleash and to get creative without setting, you know, pennies, dollars, and budgetary, like hardcore restrictions, which would have kept us, at least my team, in potentially creating the best of the best. He just said, get to work and create the best. So, and that's exactly what we did. And he was fully supportive of whatever our needs were, whatever we needed. And that's how we launched our first 7 formulations. And if you've been in the industry for a while, you know that it can take a year to formulate and to vet and create just one formula. And because of the charge and the excitement and the passion and the drive, to create the best, our team was able to create 7 master formulations from concept to finished goods and to launch those in 6 months, which blows people's minds, especially those that are very, very grounded in the supplemental world, the nutraceutical space, that have any part in any facet into the development or the production of just one formula. We were able to do 7 of them in 6 months, which is amazing. And that doesn't happen without, like I said, passion, drive, and obviously guidance from above. So it was an amazing opportunity, and totally honored to have led the team in that whole feat. And we're just getting started, Dr. David. I mean, it's like we now went from 7 formulations, now we're up to 10, and our goal is not to create 75 formulations. It's just, that's not even necessary. What we want to do is we want to do what we do the best. We want to be the best in every single category, and to provide the consumer very, very sophisticated, impactful supplements and formulas that will truly make a difference in their body, but put it into an affordable way for them to be able to enjoy, so that anybody can enjoy these. So the way that I love to explain it too, and I'll turn it back to you, is that we are creating a puzzle, the master puzzle for the human body, based on nutrition and what the body stands in need of, what's going to ignite the body, what is going to allow your beautiful genes to be able to do what they do best, and to keep you strong and healthy and vibrant. And in the creation of this, master puzzle, every master formulation represents a puzzle piece that's interlocking and working synergistically in that one puzzle. So that's what we're busy doing.
I hear you. So before we dig deeper deeper into the details, I want to address what might be an elephant in the room. And that is that when many people hear about Rolls Royces, they are thinking, well, this is an amazing vehicle, but I could never afford one. And the people that I love and care about can't afford it. And the people I would want to share it with can't afford it. And so I want to hit this directly. How are you able to provide Rolls-Royce quality at moderate prices that most people in the United States who value their health could afford? How do you do that?
Mm-hmm. I would probably say that it's because we're experienced and we're efficient. And we're not here to gouge people just because. It blows my mind, again, going back to those product comparisons and product analysis on what's currently being marketed, whether it's on Amazon or it's at Whole Foods or whatever the case is. And we see what's inside of those. And we're looking at like seriously 50 cents worth of material in some cases. And they're selling them for $40. I mean, the consumer is spending $40, hard-earned dollars, on a supplement that is just smoke and mirrors. It is fairy dusting. It is, and of course, then they take it and they're, 2 weeks into taking it and they have to ask themselves, gosh, I wonder if this is working. And if you ever have to ask yourself, is this working? Do I feel a difference? I'm going to tell you right now, it's not working. Because if you're truly feeding and nourishing your body, things happen. And it's exciting, whether it's better mental clarity, better energy, better sleep, better endurance, better moods, better libido. I mean, the list goes on and on. When the body is up and charged, you just feel different. And sometimes people they forget what it feels like to feel healthy because they've lived in this unhealthy status or state for so long. And so, again, going back to how we can create what we do and allow it to still be affordable. We're just not in the business of gouging and creating high priced formulations with nothing in them. So we have to be very careful when we're creating these formulas that we can create the best of the best, but also put it at a price point that the consumer is expecting. And that's where, when you compare apples to oranges on, let's say, our collagen product versus others out there, it is state of the art, absolutely world class, the latest advancements of collagen. And it's coming in less by a long shot in comparison to some of the most popular collagens out there. And I'm talking a difference of $30 or $40 in one 30-day period of time that we're saving the consumer. Because again, we're not in the business of ripping people off, and there's no smoke and mirrors. We base it all on science. And again, we're efficient at what we do, which helps to save the consumer some cost there. So.
And I would bet also a factor in the equation is that because your product spreads by word of mouth, you don't have to have a large advertising budget.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because instead of, like, for instance, any of the major brands like Nike, the amount of money, or Coca-Cola, these companies, these major Fortune 50 companies, Fortune 100 companies, they do that. The majority of what their profit is goes right back into brand building. For us, we just don't do that. We put our money into our distributors, and we call our distributors wellness partners. They've partnered with us to help to create wellness in the world. And the majority of our consumers are just strictly consumer-based individuals. They have no idea about a business opportunity or a commission structure, although if they wanted to know, they could certainly find out, and we would share that with them. But I love the fact here at Zaleva that we're not pressuring people into ever beginning a business opportunity or feeling like obligated to build. We are, again, going back to wanting to make people healthy and happy and assist in that process. And so if you choose to build and to brand represent, basically, then we welcome you into the fold. If you just want to consume, then we love that too. I think that's why a lot of healthcare professionals are loving Zalevo, because it's a totally different facet for a healthcare professional based on HIPAA laws, and them being able to share this technology with their patients without the worry of any kind of, issue. With
That's
this.
fantastic.
Yep.
So you kind of touched on question number 2, and if you don't want to say anything more about it, just we'll move on. But question number 2 is, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced along the way?
You know, it's funny. I don't believe we had any challenges.
Well, I mean, you were talking earlier about how Herculean it was to be able to do this in this compressed time frame and things like that. So maybe your answer is very revealing in the sense that your mindset was such that you didn't even consider that a challenge.
It wasn't.
More of
It
a
wasn't.
miracle.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that as when you start off to execute a project, and you've got, your project laid out, and it's a matter of, one step after the other, and just moving through the whole process of the project to complete the project. Even if there was, let's say, a delay in this or that, we don't look at that as a challenge. We just look at it as a part of the equation. So you know what, I think you nailed it, is that our mindset isn't of such that we're being critical or we're looking at any one thing as a negative. I think it's a beautiful process and experience. I trust in the timing of things. I trust in the process of things. And I can say that because there's been moments where we've been in the 11th hour, about ready to propose a new formula to our founder. And at 6 o'clock the night before, all of a sudden, we discover a raw material that we have not yet seen. And why are we discovering a raw material in the 11th hour, so to speak? Like, why are we even looking if we've got a formula set and the PowerPoint is complete and we're about ready to pitch it the next morning at 10 a.m. to our founder for approval? Why are we even looking at new materials? Why are we still seeking out? What's that all about? And it's because we are completely dedicated to finding the best of the best. Even in the 11th hour, we are still sifting and sorting to make sure that what we have just decided upon with this formulation is the absolute most exquisite thing and the latest in technologies and innovation, and that it's going to deliver the best results, bar none, of any other product within its category. And there's been not once, but twice where we have been in that 11th hour moment where we have spotted something that needed to go into that future formulation. And so you would think like, oh, that's a challenge because it's like last minute, manipulation to the formula for seasoning to then redo the slides and add this in and get it all ready and prepped. And some people would be like, oh my goodness, this is like crazy. But this is exciting for us because of the quest of no compromise and bringing the best of the best to the consumer. So again, I don't view anything that we ever experience in a project as a challenge.
This is so inspiring, and I think it validates something I mentioned in my opening comments, that even though it looks like the focus of the conversation has to do with healing and the physical body, that there is a spiritual component to all of this, and you're a part of that, and you're tapping into that flow, and you're letting that flow work in you and through you and as you, and therefore you're turned on, and it's not a problem. It's life,
Yep.
and I get it. So I think I'm going to skip number 3 because I think we've kind of hit it from a couple of angles already, but I'll just say the question in case there's anything else you wanted to add. And question number 3 is, what kept you or what keeps you going, and what type of support have you received along the way? I think we've covered that pretty well.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. Yep.
so let's get into the impact that this is having on real human beings. So we're kind of shifting gears now. Can you share with us a few stories from the field in terms of impact on real human beings? And let me say before you start that at least in the United States, we have to be very conscientious about the words that we use to describe what people are experiencing, because we don't want to imply that we are diagnosing or treating any diagnostic entity or any disease. So, uh, so as you're listening to this, keep in mind that Kjersti and I are having to work through that legal framework in what we're able to communicate, and we'll just do the best we can within that particular game. So again, the question is, can you share with us a few stories from the field in terms of impact on real human beings?
Yes. Couple of them that come to mind. One of them is a mid-70s gentleman. He's in his mid-70s. He, this time last year, in June of last year, 1 year ago, right now, he didn't think he was going to live to see Christmas. Just this last Christmas, just 6 months ago. And his wife was preparing for him to pass. His obituary was written. This is a gentleman who has always taken good care of his body, never smoked, drank, done anything. They've always been very health conscious. They've tried and used hundreds of supplements throughout their life. And he wasn't well. He was not well. He was in bed several hours a day. This is a man who in his retired years loved to garden and could not garden any longer, leaving a tremendous amount of burden on his wife, which he felt so guilty about every single day. And one of his dear friends, David's friend, and that's the name, the gentleman's name is David. One of his good friends, Jim, brought him an Ultra 30 plant-based shake, a Zalevo pouch of shake, and plopped it on the counter and said, David, you need this. And he's just like, I don't see how this is going to even help. I've tried this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. And while Jim was there in his house, he said to David's wife, go make him a shake and bring it here. So of course he drinks the shake and they visit for a little bit. And then Jim leaves and goes home. And about 3 hours later, Jim gets a phone call from David and said, it pains me to have to tell you this, but I feel something in those shakes. I feel something happening in my body. And it pains me to tell you that, because he didn't, of course he was skeptic and he didn't want it. He didn't think it was going to work. And, it was a pride thing. And obviously they've been friends for several decades. And Jim laughed and he said, all right, well, David, I want you to go and make another shake right now and drink it. So he did. And to say that this man's energy and health improved is a complete understatement. And the bottom line is that the body is the miracle. Your body is designed to do specific things. It is mathematically designed. It is a champion. It can be a champion body if you feed it and move it the way that it is designed to move and to be fed. You have DNA within you that through that genetic coding can allow you to become that champion. And so it's just a matter of what level of health you can achieve based on your habits and your daily regime and what you're feeding and drinking and doing physically with your body. And so I share that because what David did is he started feeding his body with specific nutrients that his body was in desperate need of. And on the other side of that was better mental clarity, better sleep, more energy. This man was out gardening within days of starting Zalevo, and that is no exaggeration. He went from, busy feeling horrible to busy living. And it wasn't just himself, it was also his beautiful wife. And you should see them now. And it's now been a year, almost a year since David started his Zalevo journey. So to watch someone that was preparing to leave this earth to living his life and with his kids and grandkids, it's absolutely a miraculous story. So.
How about one more story where the protagonist is a woman?
Yeah. All right. So we had a lady that got started on her journey with Zalevo, and this would have been right after launch. So it's been about a year and a half since she started her journey. And same thing with her. She was a teacher working and would come home and climb straight into bed. She felt horrible. She felt miserable. Her husband was left to cook and clean, and it was a miracle if she could be out of bed during the holidays, and whether it was Christmas. It was amazing the amount of the amount that she had to rely on her husband and her children to actually do daily tasks and life tasks. It was profound, and she just didn't feel well. Her body had a tremendous amount of discomfort. And so her moods, she just felt in this deep, sad state, and she was dealing with a lot. So she started her journey. And again, she had tried so much to try to help. The long short is that she had such profound results, but she didn't tell anybody for the first 3 weeks because she couldn't believe what was happening. She was in disbelief. She kept thinking like, this is not happening. This is not real. I feel incredible, but I can't tell anybody because what if this goes away? It's that fear of, is this really happening? And how long am I going to feel like this before I go back to where I was? And finally, on that 3rd week, she called up the person that introduced her to Zalevo and said, I need to share my results because I've been thinking that they were going to go away and I was going to fall back into my state of where I was before. And this is how I'm feeling. And she is not only feeling incredible, better energy, but also that first Christmas after being on Zalevo, she was up and at 'em and not only decorating the tree and cooking and being a part of the family festivities, but also was able to serve other people in her circle, and be of service to them during the holidays and to help out and to do things that she hadn't done for years. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. She's in her 50s. And I want to share one more because this has to do with a young teenager. She is a professional dancer. I believe now she's 13, maybe 14. And she is absolutely a stunning woman, a young lady. She had issues with her gut. She had issues with her skin. She had issues with her moods and her ability to socialize and interact properly. And, along comes Zalevo in her mama's life. And of course, what does she want to do? She not only wants to improve her own health, but also improve, if she could, her daughter's experience of life. And after being on Zalevo for a very short period of time, her moods were able to balance. Her skin was glowing and bright, and the challenges that they were dealing with prior were no longer. and her abilities to be able to perform in her dancing career was really, really supported by Zalevo in so many ways, with stamina and strength in the abilities. And to see that little girl go from where she was to where she is now, and learning at the age of 13 what her body needs and what her body doesn't need. This little honey, she's driven on her own Zalevo routine and loves what she feels and experiences. She doesn't have to be told by mom to take this or to do that. She's driven herself and ends up telling her friends and peers about it too. It's pretty cute. So that's exciting, because we're dealing with a young adult here, and a next generation that's developing.
I'm glad you mentioned that last one, because I was going to ask you if you could share a story that focuses more on enhancing peak performance, like a elite athlete or a performer or something. So I'm glad you mentioned that one.
Yeah.
Question number 5, we've already covered, which was, how have you and the company been able to do all this in an affordable way? So let's get into the details a little bit of the product line. Let me just turn it over to you. I'm a little torn, because on one hand, I want people to get the big picture, but on the other hand, I don't want them to be overwhelmed.
Right.
So
right.
Let me just leave it in your hands about your judgment about how you'd like to introduce the specific products in the line and how they work together.
Okay. How about if I just kind of run through some of the basics of what we currently are offering and what it's all about? Because obviously we've talked about philosophy. One of the things when we set out to create a beautiful supplemental line is that we wanted it to be simplistic and highly customizable, meaning there's a lot of diet plans out there. And I use the term diet plans because, I mean, you've got the paleo, you have the carnivore, you have the keto, you've got Atkins, you've got calorie counting up the wazoo, you've got a 500 calorie limit each day. There's so many different things that people are trying and attempting and using and doing to try to achieve health, to drop the pounds and inches, and to feel better. And so when you're looking at creating a product line that a consumer is going to see, they're going to identify and give it a try, we wanted it to be easy and simplistic, and again, highly customizable. So it doesn't matter if you're man, woman, if you're 6 or 60, or if you need weight down, if you need to shred and drop some weight, or if you need to gain 40 pounds due to a health challenge. It's all about body balance with Zalevo. We're all human. We all are made up of roughly, on average, 37.2 trillion cells, head to toe, inside and out. All of our cells are in need of specific nutrients, specific fuels, in order for just even one little cell to operate. And every organ in your body is designed to do something specific, right? It's like an assembly line. It's a fine-tuned engine. And when you're talking about engines, just think about it this way. If you were to set out on a road trip in your vehicle, in your car, you're going to want to make sure that the tires are in check, that the oil has been changed, that everything is set to go with your car, and that your tank is full. And then you can just go. It's pedal to the metal and you hit it. And then every once in a while you stop and you refuel. This is no different than the human body. The human body, when you get up in the morning, up all the way until you go to bed at night, is doing things. It's operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, from the time in which you were conceived to the time that you die. And in that space of time that we're living, when anything that is going to impact our physical body and feed into those cells and feed into the operating system of the human body, it's got to go in here. It has to go in through the mouth. You've got to be able to chew it, eat it, and drink it into the body. And then the body works really hard to liquefy and digest and break it down and then shuttle these nutrients and these components to where it needs to go into the body. And people are going in, they're waking up in the morning and they're going to bed at night and they're kind of in this routine and they're just like, they're unaware that there are specific nutrients that are critical for your liver to function properly, for your detoxification processes to be up and running, for you to be able to have good digestibility of foods and nutrient absorption, where the nutrients can actually be uptaken into the cells themselves. There's so many critical components. And to the average person, they just might get up in the morning and it's routine. They have a cup of coffee, then they eat the bagel. Then lunchtime comes and maybe it's a number 2 on the menu at the drive-through. And then dinner comes around and, you're presented with this lovely meal and there's no limitations to what you're eating at night potentially. I mean, it's your comfort food time of the day. And so people really don't know, in essence, based on the traditional American diet, of what to even put in the body, right? So here at Zalevo, based on our philosophy and taking into consideration how the body even operates head to toe, inside and out, and all of these different facets and components, what we're doing is creating highly sophisticated formulations that will feed and nourish into all of these specific special processes in the body to ignite and light them up. And it comes in the form of minerals, trace minerals, natural vitamins, organic, high quality proteins, high quality fats, high quality complex carbohydrates, tremendous loads of antioxidants, and antioxidants help to control free radicals, which are basically rogue molecules inside of the body that kind of bounce off the cells like a pinball in a pinball machine. And every time that these molecules, these radical molecules that are loose in the body, which come in the form of impurities in the air, impurities in the food and beverage that we consume, any chemicals that come in contact with our skin absorb up into the body. We're gigantic sponges, right? So these free radicals are bouncing around, and every time one of those free radicals bounces off of one of your human cells, there's damage and dents that are being made to the exterior of that cell wall. And when there's damage to a cell, that cell lives a shorter life. And it's the aging process of a cell. So here our bodies are combated with all of this free radical activity day in and day out, and you can't escape it. If you're eating, breathing, drinking, and going and doing, you're exposed to free radicals. And so one of the things that neutralizes free radicals are antioxidants. They stop the ping pong ball dead in its tracks from hitting other cells. So again, minerals, trace minerals, vitamins, botanicals, herbs, extracts, proteins, fats, carbs, loads of antioxidants. And these are the things in which you're going to find in the Zalevo formulations. We use clinical dosing, meaning we have a tremendous number of ingredients that are patented or created through a patented process where you can't get it anywhere else in the world. This is what drives results to the nth degree because of the concentration and the way in which it's produced through this patented process. Many of our ingredients have clinical studies attached to that specific ingredient, meaning our ingredient that we have used in a specific product, that is the specific ingredient that was used in 14 double-blind clinical studies that have been published that shows the physiological responses in the body when you ingest that type of a botanical, which is really cool. So we use clinical dosing. We will not skimp on what is going to elicit a response and support your body. We use specific ingredients that help with the digestion of all of these incredible macro and micronutrients, and they come in the form of plant-based enzymes. We have a delivery system where we use special phospholipids from plants that will help to encapsulate and enrobe these nutrients and into these like little spheres and bubbles. They're called liposomes, and helping to escort and deliver them up against the cell wall where the cell will be able to intake those nutrients within that little bubble with ease. So it's a little shuttle process on getting those nutrients to the cells. And again, it's all about quality, purity, and potency. So we've got 4 incredible full spectrum meal replacement shakes, 2 plant-based and 2 whey-based, both in chocolate and vanilla. And the difference between the 2 is really about taste and texture, and of course, plant sourcing. You've got, the plant-based are proteins that come from plants. The whey-based comes from dairy cows that are grass-fed in New Zealand. And both are exquisite. It's just a matter of lifestyle preferences and what agrees with your tummy. About 8 out of 10 of our shake users use the whey. They're fanatically crazy about the whey, and about 20% consume our plant-based. So that just gives you an idea. We've got a formula that is called Burn Mode, and it is an intermittent fasting aid. Fasting is a foundational principle of life and health and well-being, and we truly embrace that and support that here. Our fasting aid called Burn Mode, you consume while you're fasting, that allows you to sustain a fast longer. The longer that you fast, the better chances that you have of moving into a very, very unique state or phase called autophagy. And for some of you, you're just hearing about this for the first time. Autophagy, A-U-T-O, let's see, A-U-T-O-P-H-A-G-Y. And it won a Nobel Prize in 2016. Now, this has been a phase that the body has been able to go into since the beginning of man. And is interestingly enough, this phase is something that a baby is in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Same with children. And it's because they're growing at a very rapid pace. So there's a constant cell breakdown and cleanup and remodeling of their little bodies as they're growing exquisitely fast. But once you move through puberty into adulthood, autophagy slows down, and if not, completely stops, depending upon your lifestyle. What is autophagy? Autophagy is where the body moves into this phase when you step away from the dinner table, and it ignites at roughly about 24 hours into your fast, and will remain revving and even rev higher at 300 to 500% when you get beyond hour 36, hour 48. And what it is it's where the body goes in, identifies dysfunctional cells, and scavenges for dysfunctional cells, and will literally attack and kill off and go after those rogue dysfunctional cells, and breaking those cells down, recycling some of the material, and eliminating those rogue cells, dysfunctional cells. So it's a huge cleanup and remodel of the human body. And it is the secret sauce of longevity and exquisite health and well-being. And as adults, you've got to make time in your schedule to fast, to access this state, to be able to reset and remodel the interior of your body. You've got to make the time for it, because it's not going to happen naturally. The people that it does happen often are extreme athletes. They're your endurance athletes. They're the athletes that are high competitor, high training athletes. They can access autophagy within 6 hours. But for the average person, especially for the sedentary, you have to give yourself the time and space to fast in order for that phase to trigger. It's very different from fat burning. It's not fat burning. It is a cell cleanup and a tissue cleanup in the body. So it's pretty cool. So Burn Mode will help to support that. We have an energy drink called E-Vibe, and it's funny because people were like, oh, you guys have to create an energy drink. And honestly, I was kind of against it at first, because I was just like, well, what's the point? If the body's healthy and efficient, then you shouldn't be having these lulls of energy. But in taking a look at all of the energy quenching drinks out there, I'm like, man, this is toxic. It's not, number one, everything is carbonated, which is not good for the bones. Number two, it's got potentially artificial colors, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners, high levels of caffeine that could be very toxic to the body. And so we set out to create a healthy energy drink that was going to be loaded with antioxidants and material and nutrients that can drive into the cell and allow and feed into mitochondrial activity to create internal cell energy. And that's what our energy drink does, is it does give you a little boost of natural energy, but it's sustaining because it's a long delayed release through guarana seed. But all of the other components, those antioxidants and those fuels, go into the cell and charge the cell naturally. And that's our energy drink, which is exciting.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
One of the sort of buzzwords right now in the nutrition world that's starting to get some play in some of the larger press, it's sort of the phrase of the year, I think, in many ways, in terms of people who are just general public but keep their eyes and ears open, is NAD plus. Are you
Oh, yeah.
familiar with that? Just is there something about the burn mode product that has something to do with that, or is that a completely different mechanism?
It can be a completely different mechanism, but the bottom line is that when it comes to NAD, you can supplement with it. I highly recommend it. I think NAD is fantastic. Just get yourself a good source. But when it comes to specific nutrients and ingredients that you can pop into the body, absolutely believe that there are certain things that you can eat and drink that will help the body to naturally create and produce specific components. For instance, glutathione, nitric oxide, human growth hormone. Those are things that are naturally produced in the body. And when you can provide specific amino acids, minerals, or nutrients that can ride in, that ignite the production of those types of things, then there's really no need to be able to have to supplement, because people will try to take glutathione. They'll try to take this and that and HGH when your body is designed to produce these things. And so it's a matter like nitric oxide. Think about it. People are eating beets like it's going out of style. Well, your body produces nitric oxide. Just give your body the specific nutrients that it needs for that to ignite. And guess what? Our ashwagandha has been clinically proven to help the body with its natural production of nitric oxide, as well as HGH, as well as glutathione, and lowering of cortisol, which helps to drastically reduce inflammatory response in the body. And if you can do that, then nutrient absorption increases, hormone production and utilization normalizes and balances, and it's a beautiful thing. So, and speaking of which, the ashwagandha that we've been kind of referring to, that's inside of one of our stress support formulations called Fortitude 85. And it's Fortitude 85 because it has 85 different minerals, trace minerals, botanicals, and phytonutrients that ride into the body that help the body move through stress with ease, because stress is very damaging to the body. And so when you're moving through stressful components in life, let's face it, sometimes you can't avoid it, whether it's work or you're going through some sort of life situation. And so how you move through those moments of stress is you equip the body with specific nutrients and tools to be able to combat those damaging effects that stress can leave in the body. And that's what Fortitude 85 does.
Sure, or even a planned stress like an athletic event.
Sure.
Not just, stress that people want to avoid,
Yeah.
But sometimes, it's good to challenge oneself,
Yeah.
and exercise is a stress in and of itself. Most
That's
people
right.
don't realize that the stress is the catalytic signal that sets certain, that in exercise, it's the challenge, it's the stress of the exercise that puts the body in a different mode, and that the benefits of the exercise actually show up over the next 2 or 3 days
Yep.
in response to the catalyst, that the rebuilding takes place later, that the exercise itself breaks some things down, but it does it in a way that triggers a renewal.
That's right. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, shocking the body a little bit. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. That's what stimulates your own stem cell production too, is cold water submersion helps
sure.
to stimulate stem cell production in the body, which is insane renewing of tissues and the entire body in and of itself. Um, Dr. David, one of the other things that we focus on is the gut. And the gut is known as the second brain. It is an ecosystem that operates completely by itself, the gut microbiome. And what microbiome is, your gut microbiome, in essence, the definition of that is your specific bundle of bacteria that exist in and on the body. The majority of this bacteria is within your gut, but you've got bacteria that's in your mouth, on your skin, within your sexual organs, within the gut itself, within any of the tissues of the body, in and out. And your microbiome that makes up this entire universe of bacteria on you is just as unique as your own fingerprint. My microbiome is very different than Dr. David's, and so on. And so, what we do know, because bacteria has been studied massively when it comes to microbiota, and how to influence these bacteria in and on your body in a very exquisite way that leads to incredible health benefits. Like, for instance, certain bacteria, genres of bacteria, we know help to fight cavities in your mouth, because that type of genre of bacteria loves to live in the oral cavity and therefore is constantly ready and armed to fight bad bacteria that comes into the mouth through food and drink and biting of nails or whatever the deal is. There are specific strains or genres of bacteria that are exquisite in helping with the breakdown of proteins and the digestive process of breaking down specifically proteins, and also lend themselves to muscle synthesis, specific bacteria that literally encourage and affect and assist in muscle creation and building in the body. So there's a lot of different strains out there. And we know that if the entire microbiome of your human body is more balanced with good bacteria, knocking down the bad bacteria, digestion improves, nutrient utilization improves, mood improves because you have better serotonin and dopamine production, which the majority is produced in the gut with serotonin. There's a lot of things that transpire and happen, let alone cardiovascular health, respiratory health, visceral fat reduction, and of course, above all, immune health. And so we've created two formulations that focus on getting these bacteria into the gut. One is called Trim, BiomeSync Trim, and it is designed to tackle visceral fat. Believe it or not, there are specific genres of bacteria that love to help metabolize and break down fat, lipids. And so it's been clinically proven to reduce visceral fat percentage, waist circumference, as well as subcutaneous fat. Very different formula. And should you take it even if you're lean? Yes, because you can be lean and still have visceral fat inside of your body that is, you can't see that, right? That's in and around your organs. It starves out your organs. The other bacteria formula
Can I
that
interrupt for a minute before
yeah,
you
go
go
ahead.
into that one?
Yep.
If there's a way using compliant language, I think this would be good to go into, is my understanding is that there's a lot of science that is pretty cut and dry about the correlation between excess visceral fat and all sorts of health challenges,
Mm-hmm.
major health challenges.
Yes. Yes. Fascinating, as a matter of fact. Here's just one thing to consider when you're looking at fat, is that you can get, I mean, this is a complex topic. We could talk about this all day, but this is just one facet of what to watch for. There are a lot of seeds and nuts that contain a specific type of an omega that drives inflammatory response up, right?
Sure.
There are other types of omegas that are found in animal proteins specifically that drive inflammatory response down. When inflammatory response is down, nutrient uptake is enhanced. Hormonal uptake is enhanced. The body then becomes more efficient. You can metabolize fats better. Things are actually feeding into the cell better. Cell health is improving and increasing. Cells are replicating healthier. They're living longer, and the body is buzzing and feeling good. When it comes to visceral fat and subcutaneous fat, these are types of fuels that are stored in specific cell types in and around the organs, and that are clothing and drenching on the body. When the body increases in efficiency and fat metabolism, those pounds and inches will naturally drop. This is why we have people step on a SMART scale. We want them to see these physiological changes that are going to take place through improving their lifestyle habits and feeding and nourishing their body with the correct nutrients. And so you'll start to see that visceral fat will drop. You'll start to see subcutaneous or body fat percentage drop. You'll start to see lean mass, maintain or increase depending upon the demand that you're putting on your body. You're going to see intracellular hydration increase, and extracellular, which is your toxic type of hydration in the body, decrease. And it's a fascinating thing to see with this whole body balance. Does probiotics factor into all of this? And the answer is yes. When it comes to lipids, fats that we're eating and that we're either using or we're storing, that's either eliciting some sort of good response or bad response, bacteria funnels into that entire equation as well. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I think we probably can't talk about what I really would like to talk about, because
Are you talking about insulin
because of compliance
sensitivity?
issues, because it's so correlated with insulin resistance, which is correlated with higher incidence of so many health challenges that people have. I just don't know what we can say and what we can't say on this recording.
Okay. I wish I knew exactly what you were referring to, because I could certainly speak. You can ask the question and then I can just answer it compliantly.
Maybe you can talk about the relationship between when visceral fat gets too high, how that's correlated with insulin resistance, and why insulin resistance is such a big deal.
Yeah, insulin resistance is a huge deal. And that is actually one of the things in which Zalevo loves to help and assist with. This has been something that has been very, very prominent in our work here. Insulin resistance is basically the inefficiency of the utilization of insulin, which is the master hormone of the body. Without insulin, you die. Insulin, the way you can look at insulin is that if you've got an entire symphony orchestra and you've got a conductor with this little stick, And he's the guy or the girl that's directing the entire symphony and orchestra through this musical piece. That is insulin. Insulin is the conductor of the symphony. It's the conductor of the body. Insulin will tell the body what to do. Insulin will escort nutrients to the cell. Insulin will tell specific nutrients what to do and how the body should respond. It's a fascinating process. And so a lot of times you think of like insulin as like, it's like a bad thing, just like cortisol. Oh, it's a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing. These are hormones that are naturally produced in the body. For instance, insulin's produced in the pancreas. And anytime that your body detects, because you've got these little receptors that are constantly detecting to every second of the day, anytime that proteins, fats, carbs, or anything comes into the body, there are receptors that send signal to the brain, that the brain then sends signal to the pancreas to slowly start releasing or to quickly release insulin, depending upon what you're eating or drinking. And this insulin squirts out of the pancreas into the blood and then bonds with whatever is moving into the blood and helping to drive it into cells to utilize it for fuel or to escort it where it needs to go to be able to be built into the structure of your body. If your body, if there's insulin production that is constantly chronically high because you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, you're eating way too many carbs, which is sugar. Sugar converts into glucose. If you're putting high demand on your insulin, of course, there's going to be an imbalance of fuel that's going to be used or not used. And the long short of it is it creates inflammation in the body when there's high levels of demand of insulin. And your body then kind of becomes resistant to this insulin, to where all of a sudden the insulin can't help to orchestrate what's going on. And there's this build of resistance to this. So we're all in the business of helping to bring the body back out of that resistance state, more into that sensitive state, that insulin sensitivity instead of insulin resistance. Completely opposite ends of the spectrum. If we can create sensitivity back with insulin, then the body can kind of come up and running again. Insulin resistance, by the way, you guys, is prediabetes. It is the first thing that is acknowledged and seen as you're moving into prediabetes and then into diabetic situations. And insulin resistance is absolutely playing a very, very large role in dementia and Alzheimer's. Without insulin, that there's deterioration of, without insulin utilization and usage, proper usage, there is deterioration of the brain, and it's known as type 3 diabetes. New hypothesized term as of last year. Type 3 diabetes is dementia and Alzheimer's. So if we can help the body when it comes to insulin usage, insulin sensitivity through proper nutrition and balanced diets with the proper proteins, fats, carbs, and all of the cofactors, which are minerals, trace minerals, and vitamins and antioxidants, the body will respond beautifully.
And also, can you say anything more specific about the link between the product you were talking about, the trim, and its impact on visceral fat and therefore on insulin sensitivity?
Yeah, and it goes back to the lowering of the visceral fat helps with the insulin sensitivity and it increasing for sure.
Right.
Yep, and going into specifically the formulation of Biome Sync trim, there are specific bacteria strains inside of trim that have been clinically proven to reduce visceral fat, meaning they took participants, put them, and it was placebo. It was a double-blind placebo study, actually multiples, where they took one set of participants and gave them the specific bacteria, and this bacteria loves to break down lipids. Lipids are fat, and visceral fat is fat. It's the marbling around the organs, right? They put these participants on these specific strains of bacteria, and they were able to watch that visceral fat reduce through imaging. They did CT scans where they could actually see the visceral fat shrinking around the organs. And it was so powerful. So there's just by nature specific strains of bacteria that will literally go after and help with the metabolism of these fats, whether it's visceral or it is subcutaneous. So
That is so exciting.
yeah.
And I don't think there are many people that know about that. So I'm glad I drew that out of you. Uh, so let's continue. So we've talked about the shakes, we've talked about the burn product. You mentioned a little bit about the energy product, uh, the adaptogen product, and now one of the two bacterial products. You mentioned the one that is called Trim, that's correlated with reduction in visceral fat, and I interrupted you, and you were going to continue on to the other bacterial product.
Yes, and forgive me, the gardeners are out mowing right now, so it might be a little loud on the background noise. I apologize. But yes, the second bacterial formulation, probiotic formulation, is called Biome Sync Trim. And that had, or excuse me, Biome Sync Daily, and that has 10 strains of bacteria. And there are specific strains that are clinically proven to do certain things. Like, for instance, one strain is exquisite when it comes to the bacteria that lives within the lungs and your respiratory system, that helps to stave off and fight bad bacteria that may enter in on the scene. There are other strains of bacteria that when colonized inside of the gut helps to reduce irritable bowel syndrome by up to 40% based on those symptoms. These are clinical strains that we're implementing and utilizing inside of Daily. There's other strains that help with fighting cavities. There are other strains that help with mood and focus and mental acuity and brain health. And so you could look at Biome Sync Daily as like your universal head to toe, inside and out, 10 strains that are very much viable and alive, so that when you ingest them, they colonize beautifully and find their way into the body where they belong. So again, without these bacteria, that could be that there's some imbalance in there, and it could be affecting you in ways that you really don't even know. So consistency with biomes are very, with bacteria like this, is critical. It takes about 7 to 9 days to start to move the needle in the right direction after ingesting. That's how long it takes for these bacteria to grow, colonize, and take hold. So consistency daily is really critical. One bad meal can knock the imbalance right out again, and then you're back to rebuilding, which is just part of life. That's the way it is.
Do either of those two bacterial products require refrigeration?
No, thank goodness. And it's because of the specific high-tech bottles that they come in. That it is a double-walled, lined bottle that locks out all moisture. And once you open it, consume it within 30 days for maximum use. So you don't want to open the bottle and let it sit in your cupboard for months or weeks and weeks. You really want to use it as soon as you open it, one every day for 30 days. And then you open up your new bottle and continue on. And it's just one capsule per each of these formulas each day. So it's not like you have to worry about taking 2 or 3 unless you've been ill, maybe post antibiotic therapy or post bad meal experience. You can bump up a couple of them in one day for about 7 days, and then go back down to your 1 cap per day. So last but not least, Dr. David, is the Collagen 300. And this is our collagen formulation it's not just a vanity product. It's not just for the skin, hair, and nails. It is for the entire human structure. Collagen is found peppered throughout 95% of your body in some percentage. You can look at collagen as being those fibers that hold up the structure of your body. For instance, collagen is responsible for holding your intestines in tact, right? So that things aren't moving around in there. Same with your organs. You have collagen fibers structured in throughout your entire skin system, your organs, your eyes, everywhere, your bones. You've got collagen within your bones, and you can look at collagen as being kind of the lattice work or the 2x4 structure of your body. And your body naturally produces collagen. And in order for the body to produce collagen and this structure to hold you up and to keep you nice and full and your skin taut and excited, beautiful and glowing, you need to eat specific peptides. And peptides are a part of amino acids and protein. And so as humans, we can actually eat protein. The body will work really hard to digest the protein, and it'll extract out these amino acids that they'll shuttle into your collagen manufacturing sites. But we have figured out, because of technology, how to take those amino acids that come in the form of plant-based proteins and animal-based proteins and target a specific type of protein that holds specific types of amino acids that allow for a more efficient material to be moved into the body to your collagen manufacturing sites. And we've been doing this for years and years and years, decades. So you have been able to buy collagen for a very long time, from bone broth to all kinds of things. There's chicken sternum stuff. There's sources from plants. There's sources from fish. And so we took a look at all of that. We're like, listen, if we're going to play in the collagen world, what is the best source, and how is the body going to utilize it to maximum ability so that the consumer has the most bang for their buck? Number one, the best source of collagen comes from fish. So if you are listening to this and you're taking a collagen supplement and it is bovine based or chicken based, you're already taking an inferior sourced collagen. So marine or fish based is the absolute most bioavailable in the human body. Number two, the purity of sourcing. We use 100% tilapia that is not farmed, but these are schools of tilapia that are living off the coast of Brazil and Taiwan. And we harvest according to season based on where these schools of fish travel on the coastlines. And we use specifically tilapia skin. And we extract specific peptides, and it's patented. This is a patented process out of this fish source, and concentrate it and then powderize it. And that is what collagen 300 is. Now, the most important thing besides sourcing, meaning fish versus bovine and chicken sourcing, that is the most important to collagen is the molecular size of the collagen itself. Imagine if you were to try to put into this cup right here a watermelon. It's not going to fit. Versus if you were to sprinkle sesame seeds into this, you could fill this entire glass with sesame seeds, right? But a watermelon won't fit. And if this was your collagen synthesizing site, and it's needing the material to be able to make collagen in the body, and you're trying to force this watermelon inside of this, it's not going to work. That material won't get into the site in order for collagen to be produced. Whereas our collagen 300 is, in likeness to a watermelon, a sesame seed in size underneath a microscope. It's very tiny, and you can fit thousands of molecules or thousands of sesame seeds into this one collagen synthesizing site. So it's highest bioavailability, highest utilization. And that's why within 7 days, we're getting some incredible results with our collagen 300, not only just with skin, hair, nails, but also with joints, tendons, ligaments, shoulders, knees, and the list goes on. The longer that they're on it, the more that the body has the opportunity to use that material to rebuild and to strengthen and fortify on all those facets. So it's really exciting. It's the latest technology, truly.
I'm getting excited just listening to you. Um, we've touched on this, but is there anything else you want to say about how these products are getting out to the market?
Just that, we could have chose direct to the stores and we didn't choose that. One of the founder, Brandon Broadwater's goals and dreams is to help to create financial ease and abundance within individuals who choose to align with us and share this technology to help impact lives. Why would we want to spend, millions of dollars advertising like some of those big brands do, whereas we could save that money and literally reward through commission to a wellness partner in sharing? We would rather funnel that money into that direction and allowing people to create more financial ease in their life. And so we chose the method of distribution to be network marketing versus direct to consumer in a grocery store or a health food store, to empower others and to bless others' lives in that regard too.
And I would imagine that this type of product line requires a type of education of the consumer that would be difficult to get through store employees.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is so sophisticated and state of the art. I mean, you would lose out on so much of what's going on inside of these formulations. And let's just face it, the consumer, if they don't feel good and they're looking to feel good and they're investing in Zalevo, all they're going to care about is how they're feeling and how it tastes. And we have been able to meet that component with the average consumer of just, taking it and they feel amazing and it tastes great. But for those who will want to know, like, how is this happening? Why do I feel better? What is going on? Then we have the field base and the wellness partner base that is there to help coach and educate, to enhance their experience, to fine tune, adjust, to customize, and to be of an assist there. Whereas if you were to buy it at a big box store, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that type of TLC.
And my understanding is that all of your products, at least when somebody tries them for the first time, that they come with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So you have nothing to lose. I mean, if you hate it, you hate it. If you love it, you love it. And it's interesting because we have, again, a product line of 10 formulations thus far. And when you ask someone, hey, what if you could just choose one product to take to an island, what would it be? They're like, I need them all. Like nobody can live without anything, because they understand the importance and the benefit and what it does in the body, and how they work synergistically together too. So it's a lot of fun to see that.
So my suggestion, you feel free to add to it, would be if someone is watching this video or listening to this recording and they want to try these products for themselves at virtually no risk, the best thing to do would be to get back to the person that shared that audio or shared that video with them. And if they can't get you the answers you need, if they don't have the answers, they can get them for you.
That's right. Yep.
Kjersti, is there anything that you would like to say in closing? Any final thoughts that you'd like to share? Just for me personally, it's really been an honor to have an opportunity to do an extended interview with you with no time constraints and to just let it happen. And I've learned something today, and I'm really excited about partnering with you and partnering with Zalevo to make this world a world that we all want to live in.
I love that. Well, thank you. And I am too excited about being able to work with you too, Dr. David. It's a lot of fun when our paths crossed again and we were able to put our great minds together and introduce this technology to many of your patients and to others. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to see all the stories roll in, the lives changed.
All right, so let me close this out. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching or listening to another edition of Freeing the Body, Freeing the Soul. I've been your host, Dr. David, and here on Freeing the Body, Freeing the Soul, we do in-depth interviews with individuals that are doing cutting-edge work in the areas of healing, spirituality, and social transformation. My special guest today has been Kjersti Cote, the Director of Product Development for Zalevo Laboratories. And so with that, we'll close with love and peace. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.